What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and today marks the end of the weekend 1 of the Black Ops 4 beta. So this Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the beta is set to go back live, but as of right now, throughout the rest of the week, you can actually not play the beta. So throughout the weekend, I played the beta a ton. In fact, I didn't upload videos Saturday and Sunday, so I could actually play the game more, get my hands on more things, and be able to bring you guys videos throughout the rest of the week. So what today's video is going to be, it's going to be simply talking about what I believe are the 5 best weapons as of right now in the game, and what the 5 best classes for those weapons are. Now, the thing you have to remember going into week 2 of the beta, they have announced that they will be doing some weapons tuning. So by the time weekend 2 starts, some of these weapons may be a little bit different, but I strongly believe that every weapon on this list will probably still be the top 5 weapons going into weekend 2. Maybe not the final game, but at least going into weekend 2. And again, that being said, the number 1 weapon on this list is absolutely god tier. By far, in my opinion, the best weapon in the game. That one might get nerfed a little bit more, but I still believe it'll be a really good weapon, and especially a good start going into weekend 2. So to start things out, the first class we're going to look at is not by any means the best weapon on this list, nor will I say it's really a great time to kill weapon, but all around everything about this weapon is simply decent. If you're an average player, this is probably one of the classes you want to use, simply because it's an easy weapon to use, it deals a good amount of damage, and there's no big skill gap to use the weapon. And that is the KN57. I think this is a weapon that's severely underrated, and I think it comes in actually at the 6th best weapon in the game. So you may be asking, why is it on this list? The simple reason is I think the 5th best weapon is the Koshka, which is a sniper, but simply I didn't get enough time to play the game to use sniper rifles, so I don't want to give you a weapon that I'm not 100% sure about. The KN57, I am 100% sure about. So as far as this weapon goes, it's extremely similar to the KN44 back in Black Ops 3. Another thing with this weapon is it has a middle of the road amount of recoil, so as you can see in the class here, that is why I use the grip attachment. And as far as this weapon goes time to kill wise, I think it's just a decent weapon until you put rapid fire on. Once you have rapid fire on this weapon, it becomes one of the better weapons in the game. So that's why that's there. And as far as extended mags goes, you can pretty much switch this out with whatever attachment you want. I just preferred extended mags, but all in all, as long as you've got grip and as long as you've got rapid fire, this weapon is very good. On top of that, another reason why I like this weapon is because its iron sights are good enough that you don't need an optic, which for most of the weapons of this game, I actually use an optic, so that's kind of surprising to me. As far as the rest of this class go, this is going to be pretty standard throughout the rest of my classes. I always use stim shot. If you're playing a respawn game mode, stim shot is the way to go. If you're playing search and destroy, switch out stim shot for body armor, because body armor is really good in search and destroy. I'm going to have a separate video later this week just talking about body armor because I think it needs to be addressed. As far as a secondary weapon goes, I hate almost every secondary weapon in the game so far, except for the Mazu. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I really like that pistol. I think it's actually a really good weapon. And on top of that, the operator mod for that weapon is also really good. Again, something I'll talk about in a separate video. And then as far as perks go, you're going to see these perks a lot, I think even in the final game once it comes out. I always use lightweight, simple reason, the faster you can move around, the more kills you can get. I also almost always use Engineer. Sometimes I use Engineer with another perk 1, but almost always I'm using it. I think it's an incredible perk in this game. It makes you able to see all the enemies' trip mines, the enemies' equipment. You can tell if they're going to be spawning in a weird spot because you can see Seraph's tack insertion. I think it's just an incredibly powerful perk. I'm probably going to have another video on that too, just to show you guys really how powerful it is, but I use it a lot. And then finally, Ghost. I just think that's the best perk 3, unless once again you're playing search and destroy, then you might want to choose dead silence. But all in all, these 3 perks are pretty standard throughout all my classes for those reasons. So coming in at number 4, if you asked me on Friday or Thursday, I would have said this was the best weapon in the game, and that is the MX9. Now the thing with the MX9, a lot of people don't know this yet, but it actually got nerfed going into, I believe, either Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember. But it got nerfed pretty heavily. Its short range damage and long range damage both got nerfed. However, this weapon was so good at the launch of the beta that it's still one of the best weapons in the game. In fact, all around, just as a solid SMG, it's probably the best fast SMG, even though another one that we're going to talk about soon has a better time to kill than it. So as far as the MX9 goes, all around it's just a sturdy weapon. Kind of reminds me of the VMP from Black Ops 3, just on how solid of a weapon it is. Doesn't look like that, but the way it feels kind of feels like that to me. Another thing I've noticed with Black Ops 4, a lot of the time it feels like weapons are just okay until you put certain attachments on them, and then they become really, really good. The MX9, I believe, is another one of those. So with the MX9, what I use the Tritium Sight. I just like it better than a red dot sight. Kind of reminds me of the ELO from Infinite Warfare. It's just a really open sight, really improves the weapon's sights, if you ask me. On top of that, I use rapid fire, high caliber, and stock for 3 simple reasons. Rapid fire makes it so you have a faster rate of fire, in other words, a faster time to kill. High caliber makes it so it takes at least 1 less bullet with headshots to kill someone. That's awesome. It was never available on SMGs before. I think it's insane that it is available. It makes the weapon a lot better, especially if you're getting headshots. And then after that, you're using stock. Now, stock, like in Black Ops 3, is really good in this game, and the reason for that is because it allows you to move much faster side to side, especially with SMGs in gunfights. That is that much more important in Black Ops 4 because of the added amount of health. It adds a little bit of a skill gap to every gunfight because all of a sudden, the enemy that's shooting at you while you're shooting at them all of a sudden has to aim at a faster moving target, which makes it harder for them and easier for you to kill them. Stock is really good on SMGs. Once again, that's the thing I think you're going to see a lot of in Black Ops 4. And once again, with the rest of the class, you're looking at Stim Shot, Engineer, Lightweight, and the other perk that I see a lot of people use in perk 2 is Scavenger. I don't use it because I just prefer to pick up a different weapon, someone that I killed or one of my teammates that died. I just prefer that to using Scavenger. I find it's kind of a waste of a perk. And then finally, we have Ghost once again. The next weapon, and I think this is my favorite class on the list, but this is the Rampart 17. Now, this weapon reminds me a ton of the Man of War from Black Ops 3. It kind of has that same slower fire rate, higher damage, but because of its attachments in this game, it becomes absolutely godly once you unlock them. So the thing with this weapon is I also believe that this one won't get nerfed at all going into Weekend 2. So I really do think this is going to be one of your most solid classes going into Weekend 2 of the beta. So the Rampart 17, the attachments I use are first of all the reflex sight. The reason why is because I don't love the iron sights on this weapon. They kind of look like a Scar H's iron sights, and I don't love that. So I replaced that, and they don't have the Tritium Sight like we've used in the past, so I just stick with the reflex. On top of that, you're going to be using 2 high calibers. So what high caliber 1 does is add additional damage when you shoot the enemy in the head. What high caliber 2 does, and this is way more important, is adds extra damage when you shoot the enemy in the chest. This is such a good attachment, I can't even explain to you how good it is. Because the thing is as a Call of Duty player, you're basically trained to aim for the chest and hope the recoil bounces up to the head. When you do this and already dealing extra damage to the chest, it is godly, absolutely godly. You kill enemies and melt them so quickly, but you gotta use high caliber 1, you gotta use high caliber 2. I also use a grip on this weapon simply because it's a higher damage weapon. It means it has more recoil, so the grip and reflex kind of go hand in hand there, just to improve my aim a little bit. If you're gonna get rid of one of the attachments, it would probably be grip. There's not that much recoil on this weapon. I just prefer to be a little bit more accurate. That's why I use the grip. Then I used, once again, Stim Shot, Engineer, Lightweight, and Ghost. This is a weapon that I definitely don't think you need Scavenger on. You don't burn through ammo that quick because it's a higher damage weapon. You don't have to shoot as many bullets to kill people. Next up, we have my personal favorite SMG. It is the Spitfire. Now, first of all, the Spitfire is basically the Vesper from Black Ops 3. It almost has the exact same weapon model. It feels like a very similar fire rate. It plays almost the exact same, a very, very high rate of fire weapon that just melts people at short range. It feels so similar to the Vesper. That being said, there is also an operator mod for it called Wildfire. Now, I personally don't use Wildfire, but a lot of people are. The reason why I don't use Wildfire is, first of all, I already think the fire rate's good enough on this weapon. Also, when you add wildfire to it, it increases the recoil, which makes it harder to kill people at medium to long range, and I actually think this weapon is pretty decent at killing people at medium and long range. And on top of that, it takes up 3 slots of the pick 10 system, because the wildfire perk takes 2 slots, and then you also have to use a wild card. So yes, it's good, it makes the weapon absolutely godly at short range. I just don't think it's worth it. I think the weapon's good enough without it. So if I don't use wildfire, what attachments do I use? So I use the dual mags. The reason for that is because with this weapon, with the high rate of fire, you go through ammo really quickly. And because of this, you can have 2 options. You can use extended mags or dual mags, or I guess even both. Personally, I prefer the faster reload. I find that especially with the more health, after I kill someone, I can get behind cover, reload, heal up, and then go back into the gunfights. So personally, I prefer the dual mags, but extended mags are almost as good of an option if you ask me. I also use quick draw because when I was first started using the Spitfire, I felt that the aim down sights time of the Spitfire was longer than the other SMGs. If this is true, I have really no idea. That was just based off of what I felt, and I felt as soon as I put quick draw on, I immediately started doing better with the weapon. Once again, we are using stock here because just like the MX-9, this weapon, when you're using stock, you move incredibly fast with it. In other words, the enemies have more of a struggle hitting you with their weapon, and you can win gunfights more easily. Again, with this weapon, I am using a secondary weapon. The reason for this is because sometimes I do run out of ammo with the Spitfire, and I don't use Scavenger. This is one weapon where I think you could replace lightweight with Scavenger. I just still prefer lightweight, and once again, I'm using Engineer, Ghost, and Stim Shot. Another thing I think you could do with this class as well is take off the secondary weapon, take off Ghost, and also use extended mags as well. I think that would work perfectly fine. This is just what I prefer. I find I don't need the extended mags, but definitely some players will go through that ammo even quicker than me. That's why I recommend that. And then finally, this class, this is by far the best class in the game. It's not even close. We have the ABR. So the ABR 223 is a burst action assault rifle. Kind of feels similar to the M8A7 from Black Ops 3, but it's a little bit more powerful. It packs a little bit more of a punch, and its operator mod, as of right now, is absolutely godly. So first things first, the other attachments that I use are the Tritium Sight. The reason being, the iron sights basically have a built-in scope that I hate. I can't stand it on this weapon, so I pretty much have to use an optic attachment, and the Tritium Sight, like I said before, is the one I prefer. I'm also using Quick Draw because I find with a weapon like this that's a higher damage, you want to be on target as fast as possible. That's why Quick Draw is there. On top of that, I am using stock so I can strafe while I shoot this weapon. Now, the operator mod, Burst Accelerator. This is the thing that I think is going to get nerfed a little bit going into weekend 2, but I could be wrong. They could just nerf the weapon as a whole. So what the Burst Accelerator actually does is it first of all makes it so you can just hold down the trigger. You don't have to pull the trigger after every single burst. On top of that, it shortens the time in between bursts when you hold down the trigger. What Burst Accelerator actually does is simply make the ABR fully automatic with a ridiculously good fire rate when it already has a really high damage. This gun with the Burst Accelerator is so good, it outguns any of the assault rifles, and the only thing that should really beat you in a one-on-one gunfight is someone with a sniper rifle. That's why I say that this gun is probably going to get patched, because the time to kill on this thing right now is out of this world, especially with Burst Accelerator. And then once again, I'm using Stim Shot, Engineer, Lightweight, and I decided to get rid of Ghosts, and the rest of the class is pretty self-explanatory. So, those are the 5 best weapons. I definitely think they are the 5 best weapons. The only one that I maybe would replace is the KN57 with the Koshka, but like I said, I hadn't really used sniper rifles enough, and then the rest of the classes I think I explained pretty well. So, if you disagree with me, feel free to let me know down in the comments. If you agreed and you like what you saw, it'd be awesome if you could hit that like button and let me know down in the comments. Also, if you're new to the channel and want to stay up to date on all my videos, we have a ton of Black Ops 4 content coming this week and throughout the rest of the year. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to stay up to date on all my videos. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time guys, peace out.